When I first started, I tried to follow every piece of advice to the letter. Shoot wide, stay invisible, never interact. But the more I immerse myself into the rhythm of the streets, the more I realize that reality is far more nuanced. The true essence of street photography lies in understanding the spirit of these concepts rather than just blindly following them. Today, I want to share some of these moments of realizations with you. There is a common idea that street photography is done only with short focal length. You keep hearing that 28mm or 35mm are the focal lengths to use on the streets. But is street photography only done with short focal distance lenses? Well, the traditional view is that to really be in the street, you need to shoot from within it. The photographer on the street is part of the street. By using a long lens, you distance yourself. You're becoming an outsider looking in, rather than just someone who is inside. And generally speaking, doing photography with a telephoto lens can be tricky sometimes, simply because you become so visible. And the other thing often mentioned is that telephoto street shots tend to be close frames with shallow depth of field, which can add very little context to the person you are trying to photograph. And it often ends up being just one or two subjects overall, not really showing how that person is actively engaging on the street or with his environment. To get this engagement, you actually need a larger depth of field and wider perspective, giving enough room for context. But saying that, it absolutely doesn't mean you can't use telephoto lenses for street photography. Sometimes you simply can't physically get close to an interesting story that requires that close reach. And the longer lens becomes the only way. The key here, of course, is intentionality. If you're using telephoto, think about why. It is important to have the why answered before you are deciding on a telephoto lens. And it is important to remember not everyone feels comfortable photographing people from a close distance. Every photographer has their own personal comfort zone, which usually shrinks over the life of their career, but it is hard to force. I do have a video that can help you overcome some of these fears somewhere here. People who feel comfortable getting close often shoot with these 28 and 35mm lenses, where slightly more shy ones would use a 50mm. But anything larger than 70mm generally distances you from the immediate street feel. And you will probably ask me, but are there any street photographers who shoot with telephoto lens? Of course they are. Soul Letter was one of them. It said that he used to be using 90mm quite a lot. But his style is less about the people interacting with the environment. It's more about creating abstract feeling images with human element playing just a small role in it. Out of more recent photographers, I think that Billy Dink is the one that comes to my mind right away. He's using telephoto lens a lot, and he's doing it with great success. So to sum this concept, yes, you can shoot with telephoto on the street, but it needs to be intentional. You need to understand that you are creating not only physical, but also emotional distance between you and the subject that you're photographing. And you should have a specific reason for moving away to telephoto. I'm very curious to hear your take on that in the comments. Do you prefer shooting with longer lenses or shorter lenses? Write it down below. Now let's talk about this idea that photographer shouldn't interact with the people they photograph in any way, being a complete fly on the wall. It's very often the case that the photographer does have an impact, even if they don't directly interact or alter the scene in an obvious way. Your mere presence can affect what unfolds there. For example, someone reacts in a certain way when they see that you're about to take a photograph, or you make some small noise that makes that person look in your direction. Actually, there is an interesting story about one of the photographs of Henri Cartier-Bresson. I never know if these stories are real or not, but the legend has it that he saw that man wearing his raincoat and umbrella that he really wanted to photograph. So he started following him around, searching for an opportunity for a shot. But the man noticed him, and he began walking faster. Bresson didn't give up and continued. At one point, the man turned around with this "dude, what's happening here" face expression, and that was the moment Bresson pressed the shutter. He didn't directly change the scene, but his presence definitely created that tension. That led to the emotional burst that made that photograph. As we said before, the photographer is a part of the street, and your behavior within that environment can influence situations. But going actively engaging, stopping and directing people, that's a big no-no, and it's against the unspoken rules. Although some photographers do that, I've seen that happening many times. I really don't like it, but at the end, it's their own business how they do their photography. My personal view on that is that I dislike it a lot. And I want to give you a tip here. Unless you're specifically looking for eye contact or interaction before you took the shot, try to avoid direct eye contact with the person you're about to photograph at all. People often feel when someone is looking at them. So unless you want that, a direct gaze can be seen as a challenge or sign of interest before the moment is occurring. So try to avoid looking directly at the people you're photographing. This leads us to the big question. Does a street photographer need to ask for permission? One argument is that it's a public space and everyone has their own public freedom. By choosing to be in a public place, a person can be seen. And if they can be seen, the logic follows that they can also be photographed. Look at all the cameras that the shop owners and the government has all around the cities. But let's be honest, street photography is a bit of a theft in a way. We're taking something that doesn't really belong to us. We're photographing a moment without explicit permission. Unless we ask for permission, we need to be ready for potential negative outcomes. And every photographer needs to decide for themselves how much they're willing to take something that isn't theirs. This can range from a very intrusive approach to photographing unobtrusively and creating more neutral images. I always wonder what would someone like Martin Parr or Bruce Gilden say about asking for permission. I don't know how exactly they handle any issues that arise after the photograph is taken, but the fact is that they are shooting without permission from a very close distance, and they've been doing this for years, and that style has a lot of following, and they're not the only ones. So if you have tips about that, in the comments. Legally, things get even more complex. In some places, you can photograph people in public spaces as long as you don't ruin their public image. So it's okay to photograph. There is no reasonable expectation for privacy expected when you're in a public place. In other countries, you cannot photograph a person without their permission, if they're the main subject of the story. But if they're a part of a broader public scene, it might be allowed. So, gray area, you don't have the exact answer. And there are definitely separate and much stricter rules for photographing children. The key takeaway here is to know the local laws, but also to understand that the people we photograph most likely don't read criminal or privacy laws and they don't know them by heart. Their reaction will likely be based on their personal view and feelings in that particular moment. So should we or we shouldn't? Well, it's up to you. If you ask for permission first, you can't get a candid shot. I kind of like how in quantum physics it's explained that the very act of observation will change the outcome. Similarly, the very act of asking permission or telling someone you're about to be taking the picture will change the outcome of the image. It might not be the same, but you've got the idea. It is still possible to get some level of authenticity if you ask for permission to photograph and then stick around until the person doesn't pay any more attention to you. But in general, you're losing the candid moment. Street portrait with the subject posed are also a legitimate style of street photography, but they have a totally different vibe from candid, and I'm not going to extend on this subject in this video. Following on from the permission topic, the most logical approach for the street photography might seem to be shooting in a hidden way, like from the hip. Now, if I have to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of consistently good quality work coming out this way. Maybe I just don't know the right photographers. If you know someone, let me know in the comments. Occasionally, there is a good shot here and there, simply because that angle of view makes the photograph more interesting. It's just not the way we see the world every day. But shooting all the time from the hip creates one type of images that are usually not very engaging. And more than that, if street photography is about depth and connection, then a shooting in a completely hidden way can feel a bit like spying or peeping. It can be somewhat unpleasant. And if you get caught, it's even more unpleasant. Now you need to explain your behavior. Why are you shooting in a hidden way? So in general, things might go much worse than if you were shooting openly. So the general consensus among many experienced street photographers is that you should be open. You shouldn't hide. Otherwise, there isn't much difference from using a hidden camera. But now I will contradict this statement. There are still valid reasons to shoot from the hip, like in situations when you know for sure that a camera can provoke conflict. At the end, if the shot warrants it, well, do it. Also, it can be useful when you are in a very close proximity and want to avoid a direct gaze into the frame, or when you want to achieve a very low angle, or clean the background context. With time and practice, hip shooters can learn to feel the distance and compose from that hip or belly level very, very well. Even the famous Georgi Pinhasov used to photograph in the metro using his scream up, pretending to review photos. But remember, just like with the telephoto lenses, intentionality is the key. It shouldn't be the default way you shoot. So my verdict is, it's okay to shoot that way, but don't make a habit of it. And definitely don't do it out of fear. And for the next one, how do you guys feel about shooting from the back? Now that is a very popular one, and I am often asked about it. Is it a valid approach for street photography, shooting people from the back? The idea that all photographs should be shot from the front comes from the basic concept that because if you have a person in the frame, that person has a face, and the face has emotion and eyes, and the emotion can speak about his mental state at that moment, and the eyes are considered to the window to the soul, all this add to the overall strength of the photograph and drawing more attention. And this is true. A person's face is a massive attention trigger, and I completely agree with that statement. But if we speak about me personally, I actually love photographing from the back as well. But these photographs must have context. They need to tell you something about the person or the situation, not just a shot of a dude from the back. I like to call these kind of photos faceless portraits. They do need to tell the story of the person without seeing his face. That's what I usually try to achieve with these. Another reason against this strict no backs rule is that in street photography we often photograph a scene, and the human form is just one part of the narrative, something that helps present that scene. Having a face looking directly at you can sometimes pull this unnecessary attention to the individual. But if we're taking that kind of shot from the back, it can keep the focus on the broader context. So while faces can be powerful, don't dismiss the potential of a well-composed shot from behind. My verdict for that one is, okay. Another topic that often comes up is the no cropping debate, with the pressure that cropping your photograph is a sign of weakness. And if you sit and crop every photo, it means that you do not possess the compositional skills to capture the photograph on the spot. Now, there is an interesting story about this. Henry Cartier-Bresson, again Henry Cartier-Bresson, was one of the big supporters on this rule. But ironically, one of his famous photographs that is illustrated in most of the books about the decisive moment in street photography is actually cropped. Yep, that shot is cropped on the left side, but because one of the fence grids he was shooting through got into the frame, so it was cropped out later. What do you think about that, huh? So my take on this is the following. We do our best to compose perfectly on the scene, without the needing to crop. This approach will simply push you to become a better photographer and master your composition. But don't beat yourself too hard if something didn't work and you had to crop. Don't get that feeling of guilt while cutting the frame later on. No one is going to penalize you if a small crop is required to refine the image. But again, avoid making crop a habit. And while we are on Henry's work, let's revisit the concept of decisive moment. Well, it's a very good concept, but people often think it a little bit wrongly, thinking that you need to take a single photo that perfectly captures that one specific instant unique moment. However, Mr. Henry Cartier-Bresson never claimed to only take one photo of a certain scene. In reality, there can be dozens of different decisive moments, even within a single unfolding situation. He would work the scene, sometimes shooting 20 or more images, trying to time it as best as possible, but still 20 images. And I'm the same. When I come back from a shoot, I don't have 200 different moments. I will have 20, 30 different moments with several different angles and different decisive moment variations, basically trying to get the best out of a situation. So rules matter, but your idea matters much more. In street photography, one of the key concepts is to bring a little bit more than just the object itself, and here where your idea comes in. So do that and be intentional with whatever approach you take. After all, most of us do that kind of photography because we enjoy it. So do it your way, enjoy the journey, and remember, it's not about the results or reaching the top. All the good stuff and all the fun happens along that journey. So if you have any questions, write them in the comments and see you next time.